Hey friends, my name is Oleg. This is Mr. Bond. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to do a full review of Tudor Black Bay 58, my personal Tudor Black Bay 58. I bought this watch at the end of August, and now it's mid-February, so it took me about 6 months to review this watch. That's too long, I know, but I really wanted to spend enough time with the watch to see if my feelings have changed towards it. Sometimes you buy a watch, and then after the honeymoon period passes, you kind of fall out of love with the watch. So has that happened with this one here? Well, the way I'm going to do this video is going to be kind of two parts. The beginning of the video is going to be the usual review where I give you the specifications, the close-up shots, and I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible. The second portion of the video is going to be me talking about my feelings towards the watch and how they have changed and evolved over the last 6 months. So let's get started with the review portion first. I'm going to do my best to give you a comprehensive overview of this Tudor Black Bay 58. So let's start the review by looking at the case dimensions of the watch. First, it has a 39mm diameter, it's 47.5mm from one lug to another, it has a 20mm lug width, and it's only 12mm thick, including the domed sapphire crystal. And here's a watch on my 7.5 inches or 20 centimeters wrist. I think it wears exceptionally well. My preference for sports watches is around this size, 39 to 41 millimeters. This one being also very slim at only 12 millimeters thick is really comfortable watch to wear. If you have smaller wrists, wrists under let's say 6.5 inches, this watch will still fit your wrist nicely because it has these first female links. It doesn't have the protruding links, so it will hug your wrist nicely. The watch also has a very good and comfortable weight of 137 grams. Whenever people hear 39 millimeters diameter, they think, oh my god, that watch is way too small, it's medium sized, my wrists are too large for it, I'm not going to be able to wear it. I say, try it on if you have a chance. Go to the AD if they have one in stock, try it on, you might be pleasantly surprised. So just for the size comparison, here's the Tudor Black Bay 58 next to the Seiko SKX. Now Seiko SKX is 42 millimeters, Tudor Black Bay 58 is 39 millimeters. As you can see, there is clear size difference. However, the size difference gap is not as big as what you would expect when you initially hear 39 millimeters versus 42 millimeters. 3 millimeters difference in diameter, but overall the fit on the wrist is very similar because in my opinion Seiko SKX wears a little bit smaller than the 42 millimeters and the Tudor Black Bay 58 wears a little bit larger than the 39 millimeter diameter would suggest. I think Tudor wears closer to a 40 millimeter diameter, which is a great thing. In my opinion, it's better to have a smaller watch that wears larger than a larger watch that wears smaller, if that makes sense. Because a smaller watch that wears larger will be more comfortable to wear versus a larger watch that wears smaller. In most cases, it would be a little bit less comfortable. That's just a theory of mine, I could be completely wrong. The case of the watch is made out of 316L stainless steel, not the 904L like the bigger brother of Tudor, Rolex watches. The execution on the finish is really good, so we have a satin finish on top of the lugs and a polished finish on the sides of the case. The polishing and brushing are done really well, as what you would expect from a watch of this caliber. The transitions between the brushed and the polished finishes, again, executed well. We have this chamfering on the sides of the lugs, gives it a nice transition, makes the watch look a little bit more expensive. It's just really well executed. Even not much of a gap between the case and the bracelet. As you can see, not much movement there at all. There's this large crown at the 3 o'clock position. It is a screw down crown without any crown guards, signed with the Tudor rose. The execution on the crown is again excellent. We have nice snarling, easy to grip, and the overall operation of the crown is nice and smooth, so you unscrew it as so. Of course, screw down crown helps with that water resistance. We have 200 meters of water resistance on this watch. Once it's fully unscrewed, you can of course wind the movement. It has enough distance between the case and the crown once the crown is unscrewed for you to easily wind the movement. Now from the first position is where we can set the time. And of course this watch here doesn't have a date functionality, so there is no first or second position, there's only the first position. Once you set your time, you just push the crown back into place, and as you can see, the seconds hand continues to tick because of course the movement is hacking movement. After that, we just screw the crown into place, and that's that. Very nice and smooth. This big crown without crown guards gives the watch very nice vintage aesthetic. Another element of the design that gives this watch very nice vintage aesthetic is this domed sapphire crystal. I love that look. If you've been following this YouTube channel for a while, you know that I love domed crystals on Submariner style cases, on the oyster style cases. And I think this one here looks excellent with this design. That vintage aesthetic that the watch is going for is complemented really well with this domed sapphire crystal. The crystal has enough AR coating applied, so there's not a whole lot of reflections happening, which is great because a lot of times with these crystals, if it's domed and there's not much AR coating, it's very, very difficult to tell what time it is. This one here is very clear. The watch has a 60-click unidirectional bezel with the stainless steel bezel insert. Now, a lot of people would prefer a ceramic bezel insert. I am not one of those people. I think for this aesthetic, for this design, the stainless steel bezel insert works better. Now, admittedly, the stainless steel bezel insert is not as durable as a ceramic bezel insert. Now, as far as the bezel action goes, here's what it sounds like. Very nice firm clicks, no backplay whatsoever. Snaps into place, of course aligns properly. One cool thing about this bezel is that when you rotate it, and once it hits that 0 mark, it kind of sticks in place. So this first turn is more difficult to do than all the other turns, and once you kind of come to it once again, once you reset the bezel, it kind of wants to stay in that position, so it's easy to reset the bezel. I haven't seen that from any other watch company, from any other bezel, and I really like that design. Now, one thing about this bezel, it is very thin. You can see how thin it really is. So there's not too much to grip when you turn the bezel. So you really have to kind of grip from the top and the bottom. From the sides, there isn't too much of a bezel to grip, so you have to grip from the top and from the bottom. I don't have much trouble operating this bezel with my sausage fingers, but this is a review, so I just wanted to mention it anyways. Watch designs and design preferences are very subjective and very personal. I love the design of this watch. However, I can completely understand if you don't like it. The gilt and the black color combination is not going to be for everyone. To me, it just works. I love the pop of color with this red triangle on the bezel. I love the applied indices for hour marks. The color choice for indices and the hands. It's not white, it's just slightly off-white, but it also doesn't look like a faux lume. If you know what I mean, some watches, they have that kind of a fake vintage lume look, and it doesn't look right. On this watch, they did a great job with picking the colors for the dial. By the way, the lume on the watch is excellent. Here's a lume shot for you. Apply the indices for hour marks, the open rail track for the minute running track. Not too much writing on this dial. Tudor Geneve written by the 12 o'clock position, 200 meters, chronometer officially certified written by the 6 o'clock position, and Swiss made all the way at the bottom there. Very nice balance to this dial. The seconds hand reaches all the way out to the seconds running track. The minute hand is also long enough, reaches all the way out. The snowflake hand is just the right size. The finish on the hands, they are gold plated, they are not in yellow gold. They have this kind of a yellow gold look to them, which match the gilt on the bezel and on the dial. And the dial, even though from far away it might look flat, it's not completely flat. If you look under the macro shots, you can see it has a slight grain to it. Again, just adds to that vintage aesthetic of the watch. Taking a look at the case back, it's a screw down case back without any engravings on it. In fact, this is a very plain and simple case back. Has some writing like Tudor, Geneve, the caliber of the movement and the rest of it, but not much to it at all. In fact, I would love to see a nice engraving on the case back of one of these watches. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon because it is tradition of Tudor watches, it is tradition of Rolex watches to leave their case backs plain and simple. This watch is powered by the caliber MT5402 automatic movement. It is a COSC certified movement that has 27 joules, beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and has 70 hours of power reserve. This movement was specifically created in-house for Tudor Black Bay 58 line of watches, which is pretty cool, and it makes me think that Tudor is likely to bring more different color variations of Tudor Black Bay 58 line of watches, because they spent all that money, all that effort creating custom movement for this case, and it would be kind of silly to just leave it with one color combination, one model. I think they are very likely to bring different color variations to this watch and really take advantage of that in-house custom-made movement. Mine is running exceptionally well. I'm getting plus or minus 0 seconds per day. Tudor Black Bay 58 comes with 3 different strap options. You could get it on a NATO strap, you could get it on a leather strap, or you could get it on a stainless steel bracelet. The stainless steel bracelet version is probably the most desirable one. The finish on the bracelet is really good. It has the satin finish on top and polished finish on the sides. Solid links, solid end links, of course. Screw in place pins. The clasp has this guard on top with Tudor logo written across it. The shape of the clasp is the shape of a Tudor shield. Has the safety guard here, and it's a pressure lock mechanism, so it's held in place with pressure. There are no release pushers or anything like that. You just open it as so, and it is an engineered clasp with a polished finish on the inside. I'm not a huge fan of the way this clasp is finished. It could be done to a higher standard in my opinion. I guess that's the difference between, let's say, Rolex and Tudor. I think they're conscious of keeping that distance between the two brands. So Tudor is not quite finished to the same standard as Rolex watches would. Which kind of brings me to my next point. This watch has 3 micro adjustments and that's it. It doesn't have a half link, the easy link, or the glide lock mechanism, so there is no easy way to adjust the length of the bracelet. That would be a very welcomed addition, the glide lock mechanism, or at least the easy link mechanism on this watch. As your wrist expands during hot days, it would be nice to have that ability to just pop an extra 5 millimeters or whatever onto your bracelet and give it that breathing room. And they have the technology available. They just choose not to put it into these watches. Another point of controversy of this watch are these faux rivets on the bracelet. As you can see, they are along the whole length of the bracelet. They don't really do anything except for make the watch look more vintage. Makes the bracelet look like it has a spring mechanism, which of course it doesn't. It doesn't expand or anything like that. To me, I don't even notice it really most of the time. It's not my favorite feature, but I don't hate it. I'm just kind of neutral towards it. But I know a lot of people don't like it, and some people really like it. So it is a bit of a divisive point about this bracelet. Also, the bracelet does taper. It is widest by the case, and it kind of tapers down towards the clasp, which makes it more comfortable to wear. Now, as you can see, mine is pretty scuffed up. The clasp is scratched up. There are some scratches and scuffs on this bracelet because I don't baby my watches. I wear them as much as possible. My philosophy about watches is if you spend a lot of money on a watch, you might as well wear it. Another really good thing that I love about this bracelet is this first female link. So the male link would be the one that kind of protrudes like what you would see in Rolex watches. This one is hinged, which makes the watch nice and small in terms of lug to lug distance, which helps with the overall comfort of the watch and also makes it more easily accessible for people with smaller wrists. So that was the review part of the video. Now let's talk about my feelings and my thoughts on the watch. If you watched the story behind buying this watch, and I even took some clips of me buying it from the AD, you know that I bought this one when I was on a trip to Europe. And that was a very special trip for my girlfriend and I. We had a lot of fun, and buying this watch was kind of a cherry on the cake. When I bought this watch, I got back to the hotel, and it was so surreal because I'm in south of France, which is already kind of surreal, my first time visiting south of France, and I'm sitting in a hotel room and I have Tudor Black Bay 58 on my wrist, the watch that I've been dreaming about lusting over ever since it came out. it took me a few hours to fall asleep that night because I just couldn't believe it. Like it felt like a dream. I am here in the hotel room, out of my environment, totally new experience, totally new people, new culture. I don't have my usual watches with me. Bond is all the way in Canada, and then having this watch on the wrist and falling asleep with the watch on was just amazing. Then waking up the next day, I'm like, oh yeah, it's still here. It's still on the wrist. This is real. This was not a dream. So that was really cool, a really different experience. Now I know when I say these things, it might come off as I'm being kind of snobbish, talking about watches like in these terms, because really, you know, it's just a watch. But sometimes when you connect with the watch, when you have like a cool experience with the watch, it becomes more than that. And that's what happened with this one. While still being in Europe, I really put the watch to the test. That's how I got all these scuffs and scratches. Well, majority of the scuffs and scratches on the watch. I took it swimming with me in the Mediterranean Sea. I took it to the Vatican City. Pretty much any situation that I was in, this watch was able to handle it. And I really put the watch through its paces, so to speak, because I mean, buying one of your dream watches and spending pretty good amount of money on a watch and then taking it swimming was a bit risky, but at the same time, it's just the way to do it. It's the way to really connect with the watch. So that was really cool. Now, after coming back home, after putting it in the watch box, after seeing it in context with other watches in the collection, having some time passed, my feelings towards the watch haven't changed much. I think this is an excellent watch. In fact, it's my favorite diver watch on the market right now. I wouldn't trade this one for a Submariner. I wouldn't trade this one for any other diver watch. Up until I bought this watch, my favorite diver watch was the Omega Seamaster Professional. I just love the style, I love the design, the proportion, the way it fit on the wrist, everything about the watch I loved. That was my favorite diver watch. After spending about 6 months with this one, this has been my favorite diver watch in the collection and diver watch on the market. If you have a chance to pick one up, I strongly would recommend you do so if, of course, you like this Tudor Black Bay 58. Now, that's just my opinion. Everyone has their own preferences, their own style, their own experience with watches. I haven't experienced all the watches in the world. Maybe in the future, I will pick up a different watch and that will change my mind and that will become my favorite diver watch of all time. But as it stands right now, this one here is a diver watch winner in my book. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see more videos like this one in the future. And leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Tudor Black Bay 58. Are you picking one up? Are you on a waiting list? Do you have one in your collection? Please leave all those thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, today on my wrist I'm wearing my Полет Штурманский Russian chronograph. I did an unboxing video for this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave a link to that video in the description below. Also in the description below there are two other links. The first link is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. The second link is linked to bondnatostraps.com if you're looking for a good quality NATO strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time. Buying one of these NATO straps is a good way to do so. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Your nose is so dirty. But it's too late to clean it. I'll clean it for the next video. Actually, you know what? You need a bath. I'll give you a bath tonight. Because you're being a bit of a dirty dog, okay?